Welcome to the world of 21 Futures, Tales from the Timechain. This book, forthcoming in December 23 with Consensus Network, is the world's very first Bitcoin fiction anthology. I'm the editor, Philip Charter, and today we speak with one of the authors featured in the anthology. SF, welcome to the show. How is it going today?
Hi, thank you for having me, Philip.
Awesome. So let's jump straight into talking about the 21 Futures project and your role in it. How did you decide to get involved with what we're doing at Consensus Network?
I guess I was already doing some work for Consensus. Um, I I really enjoyed working with all of you guys and girls on a news book, for instance, doing the typesetting for that. I really liked doing a few of the cover designs uh, for, let's see, Bitcoin techniques and what was it again? A few cover designs for the books. Everybody's been really friendly and kind, and I really enjoyed every aspect of it. So when I saw you were looking for short stories, I just jumped at the opportunity and started to pen something down, I guess.
That's cool. Yeah, it's nice that like so many things are blending into one in this community of artists getting into writing and vice versa, and so many things blending together. That's really cool. So yeah, tell us more about your path into Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I came into contact with it quite early in 2011, but I was
Wow.
a bloody, I was a bloody idiot at the time. Um, I strangely, I did know that the field system was just utterly fucked, if I
Yeah,
may say
sorry,
so.
you can swear.
Yeah, no worries. Um, but at the time, I didn't have the energy, nor the time, nor the want to dive in and try and understand Bitcoin itself. I think it's a familiar story. I just saw it as a quick way to try and make some extra money. Of course, I fat fingered a lot of that away on my crappy smartphone of the time, uh, trying to trade it on GOX and on BTCE, uh, all of which I've lost in both of those hacks. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, I've never been, I've never had a lot of material wealth, I would say. I do think I'm lucky to live where I live and basically won the lottery of life when it comes to the country I live in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I rage quit after the second time I lost everything in 2014. I thought to myself, I just never want to touch this stuff ever again.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know it didn't go like that. And got in again, mostly bought the top in 2017. Um, but ever since at that point, I finally took the time to try and understand it. And once it finally clicked for me, yeah, it's been nothing else ever since, I guess.
Yeah, sounds like you've got plenty of material for cautionary tales and the downsides and the pain of these ups and downs.
Yeah, I guess it's a familiar part. I think lots of folks will have to walk it still to come. Lots of folks still to come. Yeah, will travel a similar route. I'm pretty sure. Um, I
Yeah, for
guess it will be part of my task to tell them don't worry too much about it. If you make a mistake, just start over, and
right.
you'll be fine.
And in terms of your writing, what kind of writing do you do? Is this one of your first pieces of fiction? What else do you write?
I did some writing in the past for a blog. I won't get into that right now. It was years ago. It was fun. It was also future related stuff, lots of sciencey, sci-fi kind of things, um, but mostly nonfiction. Um, Honestly, I haven't been much of a writer since. There was a story I was working on, and I'm just still chewing on that one, but it's a
Hmm.
different beast than the short story in 21 Futures. So that's a longer term project, I guess. Um, Not making any promises on that. Maybe it will pan out, maybe not.
Yeah,
As
well,
for
great start with the story that you submitted for the anthology for sure. And we'll hear more about that later in the
thank,
show. Sorry,
thank you,
go
I
ahead.
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate that. I must say, this is the first time that I've written something and it's gone through this editing process with you, and it's been a very nice experience. I think you were a major help. You had some really good advice, and yeah, I loved it. I hope we can do it again someday.
You're giving us a nice plug there. Any authors listening, hit us up. Consensus Network, Consensus Network. Yeah, one of the things I've really liked about working on this book is the different backgrounds of the writers involved. You know, some people are like career writers, and some people are completely new. And it's been great to like navigate all of those different approaches that people take. And it's really because it's about the idea. It's about the sci-fi, you know, the possibility or the new world order that can be created by this. I think it's such a great like vehicle for creative ideas. That's what inspires people to get into it, to write about it. So that's what I've one of the things I've really enjoyed about this. And speaking of that, all of your sci-fi background and high concept speculative fiction stuff, your story is set aboard a huge spaceship. Tell us more about the world where all of these events take place.
Yeah, I borrowed from earlier sci-fi. I think I haven't read too much sci-fi, I must honestly say. I really love the work of um, Neil Stephenson. Snow Crash is obviously a great book, I think, to maybe understand the near future somewhat better.
Hmm.
Um, but as for the hard sci-fi stuff, yeah, I think I read about O'Neill Cylinder sometime uh, years ago when I was reading stuff like Ringworld and books by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle, June, those kind of classics.
Feels like it's
Uh,
having a real resurgence, like in cinema and in books as well. Yeah, I was a bit late to sci-fi. Really, I always thought it was a bit kind of the moral was a bit obvious, right, of a lot of sci-fi stories. But I think now things are changing so fast. You know, the sci-fi is like all around us. So
yes.
you gotta get on board, right?
Yeah, when you see how these AI programs are moving, how quickly they are improving and things changing, the lines between what is real and what is fiction might be blurry any day now, become real
Mm.
blurry. So that's going to be a weird, I mean, it's already a weird world, uh, no matter how you look at it, I think. So that's going to be yeah, an even stranger ride.
So yeah, why not set the world aboard a spaceship?
Exactly. So my story is, it's a, I think the whole family can enjoy it. It's not too difficult to understand. It's set aboard a giant O'Neill cylinder, basically. I think lots of folks will understand what I'm saying when I use the term. It's basically a big cylinder in space that has artificial gravity, and it
Hmm.
spins around one of its axes to keep that gravity. Yeah, and it's a it's a twin O'Neill cylinder, so there's two of them. Uh, in theory, the one turns one way, the other way, to counteract the what do you call it? the centrifugal force,
Mhm.
so it doesn't spin out of control, basically. Uh, There's a different term for it, but I can't reach it right now. Um, I guess
You know more
you know
about
what I
space
mean.
travel than I do, that's for sure. But I'm sure people out there listening are taking notes and drawing spaceship design, whatever. Yeah. So there's two main characters in this, Iris and Flint, and they're both kids on the ship. What made you want to tell the story from their perspective?
Honestly, I just started writing. I had no idea what would come out. So I had no preconceived ideas on what to do. Um, so I just, and I think if anybody is listening and wants to give it a go, just try and make up a first sentence and see where it will take you. Um, I have found that it can at times be hard to figure out what will come next. But once you get into the flow of it, there are moments where it will just, as by magic, appear on the page. It's a weird thing,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
fun.
that everyone has different ways of doing this and different methods, but like auto writing is great for when you have a really deep understanding of the subject matter. And I think many people in the Bitcoin community already have that, and they really get these high concept things. So it's a good way to start, for sure. And I'd also say short fiction is the perfect medium to like explore different types of storytelling. We often think, oh, it has to be like a movie, it has to be like a novel, which is quite a long, complex structure with a lot of different points that we need to reach. And, and short fiction can just be a thing that affects the lives of these characters and makes them change. It's like a moment of change, right? So you can present that in so many different ways. And I think readers will see that in the book as well. There's a lot of great variety.
I can't wait to read some of the other stuff by the other authors. I've talked to a few of them just shortly because everybody is just so busy with doing more work around Bitcoin or whatever it is they do normally. Personally, I've never been a specialist at one thing. Um, I mean, my expertise mostly is graphic design stuff, creating logos, illustrations,
Got it.
things like that. But I've always had the inclination to try and have a very broad view on the world instead of um, hooking into piece of subject matter and trying to get to the absolute bottom of whatever that piece will be.
Mhm.
Um, I I once heard somebody say um, specialization breeds extinction, and I don't know if it's something Darwin said or somebody in regards to Darwin. I am unsure, but that always stuck with me, and it's a very logical thing, I would say. If you have a species and something in the ecological niche they are in
Yep.
goes awry, if there is no weird outlier doing a different thing, the species is doomed. This
Very
is why
true.
I think Bitcoin is also very important. I think it's the first time, weirdly enough, that we have a real incentive to get ourselves off this rock. Because my feeling is, and this is totally because I read the piece by Dhruv Bansal, amazing piece called Hash Horizons. Everybody should read it. And I think Bitcoin will eventually win the apex spot of money here on Earth. And the only thing that will succeed next must lie outside of Bitcoin's hash horizon. So that will be a big uh, driving factor for some group of folks or multiple groups to venture out into the wild unknown of
Yeah.
the void, I would
I
say.
mean, you went from let's not specialize too much in our jobs to we are going into the void. That's how quickly things are happening. So let's
Yes.
hope we've got a few years to prep for everything. But yeah, like what you said about specialization, we seem to be with all this digital connectivity, we seem to be everything's connecting up and we can learn things very quickly and be um, multifaceted and you know run our lives in a way which isn't just doing one mechanical task, because that's definitely what will make what that one mechanical person does less useful if that chain changes, like you say. Yeah, one
Yeah.
more question before we hear a little bit of the story from USF. Stories about hidden treasure. Um, have you got a prediction? What kind of objects that we use now will be valuable in the future? Bitcoin mining equipment and such aside, what what do you think will become hidden treasure in the future?
Well, the story that we tell ourselves, I guess, will dictate that for a lot of parts. I think the human story of where we came from and how we got here and where we will go is an interesting one. There's a lot of lessons to learn from history. And I think I think not the objects itself, but the context around them is more important, and the lessons we can draw from that for our future.
And maybe even stories as well, because if we're talking about the change from physical to digital treasure, well, digital treasure is harder to fathom without stories around it and this meaning that we attach to stuff. So yeah, storytelling's definitely got a big part to play.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a danger in the fact that relying solely on the digital to keep record might be a bit of a risk. So that's why I think it's good that you are still printing books. So there's just a copy of things.
There's nothing
Yeah,
like holding it in your hands, right? I mean, I'm not saying a book is not a book without that, but it's certainly a wonderful thing to
yeah.
have
It's
stories contained within the pages.
it's good to have this form of telepathy beyond just the digital medium, uh, and book is perfect for that.
It's like
But
analog telepathy.
exactly, it's good to have some redundancy.
Great. Well, without further ado, would you like to read us a short passage from your story? I'm sure people are interested. They'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. The massive ship had just docked their home, Steadfast 2, and Flint Mulvesper was ready to board. Whoa, what a beast, he thought, as he ran towards the airlock. Normally, you could see deep space all around in the docking bay. You could see none of it now. Flint had never seen anything like it. Can you believe it? Iris nudged him. All the way from Earth. Finally, we get to see some real Earthers, Flint, Iris said as she giddily made little jumps next to him. Flint couldn't believe it either. Why aren't we moving? Everybody wants to get on, Iris responded. A door that big, and we still have to wait. She pointed towards the airlock. Flint watched her brimming with excitement, doing her little signature jumping motions in place. The airlock leading to freighter Behemoth 7 stood as tall as two grain silos. It was situated at one outer end of Steadfast 2, half of the citadel they called home. All right, that was a better,
Thank
better.
you. Great.
Right,
Yeah.
so is that enough, or should we do more? What do you think? I think
I would
that's
read a little
maybe
bit
would.
more. Read the
Yeah, a
next
bit more.
paragraph. Yeah.
All right,
So maybe this section.
sure. Let's see. All right. From where they were standing, just inside the last segment of one of the two 32-kilometer long and 4-kilometer wide pipes that made up the anneal cylinders, they could see the outer dome. It capped one end of the tube they called home. Steadfast 1 and 2 were a pair of counter-rotating cylinders. They served as a refueling hub, located at the Lagrange point 2, some 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. It offered food, drink, and lodging to weary travelers. These consisted mostly of workers that were coming from or going to their next shift recovering rare earth metals from distant Kuiper Belt objects. Iris and Flint had strict instructions not to interfere with travelers. The outer dome consisted of transparent panels made from some kind of metal alloy. They were the size of football fields, near the center, gradually shrinking towards the edge. These were framed by printer bot structures. It looked almost organic. There was a fractal symmetry to it all. In the center of the dome, a large spherical hatch had lifted from the airlock. It blocked their view. They could not see what was happening on the other side. Co-inhabitants were making their way up, slowly trickling in. Suddenly, the queue to enter the vessel started to move. Finally, Iris growled. Come on, let's go. Slowly, the crowd shuffled forwards. What do you
Great.
think?
Thank you. Thank you
Is
very
that
much for
okay?
reading it. It's brilliant.
I trust you'll edit it into something worthwhile, and I probably we won't be listening to it because I can't stand to listen to my own voice.
Don't worry, everyone. The story's not going to change. We're going to keep it just the way it is.
Alright.
Great. It's a really great setup, and I feel like I'm there on the spaceship. So great job
Thank
setting
you.
the scene for this great treasure hunt that happens.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
just
I'm really curious what the folks will think of it, and please, if you're out there listening and you've read it and you liked it or you don't like it, please let me know. Um, I'm 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 considering writing more stuff. It's it's been a fun process.
go for it. Once you start writing stories, there's no looking back. You're one of us now. Just before we go, do you have a prediction about the future of Bitcoin?
Hmm. Well, that's a good question. I think.
You can think short term, long term,
Yeah.
big,
I'll,
small.
so nobody can predict the future, right? So it's fun to speculate. So I'll speculate, and
Speculation
um,
about the future. I'll take it.
yeah, I'll. I think, like I said, the writing of Druff Pensel is really interesting. I think he's got a great point on hash horizons and how it will make us an interplanetary species. So, yeah, but beyond that, well, I guess it's up to you and me to write that story that is still to come. And my hope is that Bitcoin will be a great help and example uh, in helping us improve the lives of everybody here on Earth, yeah, and
And beyond.
and beyond. Exactly.
Help out our alien brethren as well.
Yeah. Who knows what the kind of stuff they come up with. But yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, SF. Well
Thank
done
you.
for
Thank you for having me.
making the anthology, and yeah, really excited to have that book in my hands. And yeah, that's it for this show. See you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Philip. Please give my regards to the rest of the team. And yeah,
Will
let's
do.
work again someday soon.
All
Work
right.
together again.
See you then.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.